everyone. I hope you're doing fantastic. I'm just going to hang out here for a little while longer as hopefully people start to trickle in. This is my first live stream I've done in a very long time. Um, and I've been kind of playing around with YouTube for a while now, but this year, 2023, I'm committed to being on the platform more, sharing more information about marketing and tech gear and how I use the tech that I own for my business, for my clients, in hopes that it will help you out. So I will just get started here in a few minutes. But I have some pretty fun things in store for everyone today. Um, I have a number of notes I'm going to go over. It's just going to be a casual Q&A. And in addition to that, we're actually going to walk through some podcasts so I can show you what people are doing right now, which is the best way to kind of figure out what you want to do. So um, today's live stream is all about podcasting. And I guess I'll just start with giving you an overview of who I am and what's happening here on my YouTube channel, some of the videos I've posted as of late. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to grow this community and just to get to know more and more viewers. So with that said, my name's Edholm. I live in Las Vegas. Lived here for a really long time. I own a marketing and video production company here in town. I primarily work with small size business owners, mostly women owned businesses, and I'm having a blast. It is so much fun. This March will mark my 3rd year anniversary with KRICO Productions. I didn't mean to start this business. This business kind of found me, and I couldn't be more grateful about it. I worked in corporate tech for over 20 years. And in 2015, 2016, I just reached that moment in time in my career where I was ready to start my own thing. I was ready to take the leap and leave my corporate career behind and start a business. So in 2016, at the very beginning of 2016, I launched a leadership development business. Some of you may be familiar with Spark Women's Retreat. And I also did a lot of leadership training here in town and then also all over the country. But that's an event-based business. And I think it was like March 17th, that weekend of 2020, I lost all my clients in one day. COVID hit and all that happened. What happened after that was people knew that I had worked in tech. They knew I had a technical background. They saw me doing marketing for my own business. I hosted my own podcast for 2 years called the Leadership Looks Like Podcast, which surpassed 10,000 views, which is pretty exciting. And what happened was when the world shut down and people had to move their businesses online, I just started getting phone calls and people started reaching out asking for help with their business and what could they do to move their business online. What could they do to reach people virtually because they couldn't do so in person anymore. They could no longer travel. And fast forward 3 years later, and KRICO Productions is growing strong. Yeah, I'm just having a blast. I'm super grateful, as I mentioned before. And that's really what I'm up to these days. I'm going to open my notes right now and we'll start diving into everything. One of the things I do now is I also produce podcasts for some of my clients. And what is so fun about this is that I am out there learning all these platforms, learning what's working, learning what's not working. And the reason why I'm highlighting podcasts right now is because they're working. There's a ton of potential with podcasts right now. And live streaming and reaching an audience from where you are now that we are all used to being on Zoom and connecting virtually now. It's really cool. So yeah, that's kind of why I'm focused on podcasts right now. This is my setup today. I have a lot of stuff going on. This computer right here is actually what I'm using to stream to YouTube. Also, I have my notes on here. And then this laptop right here is what we'll be looking at here in a little while. Over here, I have the video mixer. This is how I change my camera angles. And then down here is my Rodecaster Pro 2. that's what I'm using to capture my audio for this live stream. So that's what this microphone is running through is that audio mixer, and then all my cameras are running through the A10 Mini Pro ISO. I have this camera here, so I can show you what's going on the table, and I also have a third camera angle, and I'll just show you this very quickly. So you can see this is just hooked up to this computer right here. So then that way I can display that view to all of you and you can take a close look and really see what I'm looking at and we can look at things together. Um, yeah, that's really what's happening here. If you're watching this video after it's live, so you're watching the replay, feel free to reach out with any questions. Just leave your questions in the comments below. And if you're joining me live today, pop those questions in chat and let me know. Introduce yourself. Let me know who you are, where you're calling in from. And yeah, I'll address your questions today. So without further ado, let's start talking about podcasts. I recently put out a couple of videos about creating a podcast from scratch. And, you know, the great thing about podcasts is they can give you a lot of clout. I think that it's almost like, not quite, but it's almost like writing a book. If you're a speaker or if you are really looking to position yourself as a professional in your industry, a podcast is a great way to do that, or getting yourself on video, but in particular, a podcast. And it's because you distribute it, audio only. You can do audio and video. You can do video only. And there's just a ton of different platforms that you can take advantage of to get your message out there. And then let's say you're a speaker and you are speaking to an audience and you can share your podcast with people and they'll start following you and listening to whatever it is that you want to share, whatever your message is to your audience. So podcasts are great for that reason. Also, and I do cover this in more detail in those videos. If you look at my channel, you can go back and see, but you don't need anything to get started. It's and we'll hop into, I'm going to actually show you some podcasts of people who are famous and you can essentially do exactly what they're doing or work up to that. And it's really not far off. But one of the videos I put out was how to record and distribute a podcast for free, all from your phone. And that's how you can get started. Is you don't have to buy anything new, and you just have to come up with a really good podcast concept, something that's going to provide value to your audience, and not only singular value, but long-term value. Like, what are you going to do to provide your audience with value over time? And then that goes into each of your episodes. What is the format? What do you want that to look like, sound like, feel like? Is it going to be an interview podcast? Is it just going to be you speaking to the camera? Um, yeah, it's really up to you. And I do go into more detail in those videos. And yeah, we go over equipment and everything. And I'll be doing that today as well. Show you what I'm doing with this microphone. And also we'll go, when we look at other people's podcasts, I'll show you the equipment they're using. And yeah, it's something you can do. So the great thing about podcasts is they're normally long in nature. They're at least a half an hour long, maybe even an hour. Some podcast episodes are 3 hours. They're conversational in nature. And that, if you think about getting the most out of an hour of your time, a podcast is it. You can use that time to talk to somebody else, have a conversation with them so you're not just awkwardly staring into a camera until you get used to that. And you can post that long form conversation in audio and in video form. And what's even more useful is you can create small clips from those long form videos and distribute out to your social media channels. So if you just take an hour of your time every week and you do what we've all been doing for the past 3 years, and that is getting on Zoom or getting on Google Meet or whatever video conferencing software you use and having a conversation with someone else and just recording it and posting it, then you're set. You've started a podcast. There is a tool called anchor.fm, anchor.fm. It's a podcast distribution platform. It's free. You can upload video and or audio to that platform, and it distributes it everywhere for you. It'll take you through each of the steps. It shows you exactly how to do everything. You can edit your podcast episodes directly in Anchor, and you can distribute it from there. And once you have everything set up, it'll go to Apple Podcasts, it'll go to Spotify, it'll go anywhere that people normally listen to or tune into their podcasts. And that's it. And if you do video, then you just take that same video and you can upload it to YouTube. So, I think that that's the big reason for the push for podcasts for me, is because you can get more for your time and your energy and your money just by doing a podcast. Also, if you're talking to other people, you're not having to do everything on your own, and you can plan ahead, put your questions together, figure out what that episode's going to look and sound like. You just open up Zoom, have their conversation with other people, record it, and then when you're done, you have an entire podcast episode. So, um, it's really as simple as that. You have the equipment now, and that's what's really nice. All right, before we go on, let's look at some stats, shall we? New podcasts by year. So you can see in 2010, small amount of podcasts. Maybe. I think you can. There we go. All right. If you look at this chart right here in 2010, podcasts were just starting, and obviously there is some growth there. And then 2020 hits, and the number of podcasts that start per year just skyrockets. And then in the last 3 years, look what's happening. It's going down and down and down. Some people might look at this graph and think, oh, podcasts just aren't that popular. And, I disagree. I see this as opportunity. I mean, it makes sense that more people were doing podcasts in 2020. We were all stuck in our homes and we were trying to get our messages out to our audiences. And over time, now we have less new podcasts to compete with. And, we aren't just doing podcasts. What I'm talking about is doing a podcast in the traditional form, but promoting it on your social media channels to drive traffic to your podcast. And right now in 2023, video is the way to do that. It's YouTube Shorts, it's hour-long conversation, and video it as well, and then cut it down and post those clips out to those social media channels. I mean, that's the marketing that's working right now. That is the organic social media marketing that's working in 2023. Static posts are out. There's no organic reach there on Facebook or Instagram. TikTok is a video only platform, and YouTube has shorts now. YouTube is also a long form video platform. And the great thing about YouTube is if you build up your following and you get to 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours a year, you can monetize your channel and you can actually start to make money there. So I just see this as an opportunity. Another fun fact I would say is that I just read the stat today. If you follow Think Media is also based out of Las Vegas. The team over there they have over 2 million subscribers on their channel now. They're just killing it. And I just saw Sean post a stat this morning that said YouTube is now beating out Spotify and Apple for the platform, for podcasts on a platform. That's huge. And I'm just going to repeat, you can actually monetize those videos on YouTube. You can't really do that on Spotify or Apple. And Spotify does accept video now. And what's really cool is in Anchor, that tool I was telling you about, if you upload your video to Anchor, your podcast episode, that's all you have to do. It'll automatically distribute the video and audio to Spotify, and then it'll just strip out your audio and it'll distribute it on all other channels that are within their distribution, which are all of them. So something to think about, which I think was pretty cool. And the average number of episodes that anybody puts out, any podcast has a 7, I think. That stat might be a couple years old, but I don't think it's too far off. And that leads me to my next point. Lots of people tend to think that podcasts are a lot of work. They are for sure. And I see a couple people on here. If you want to put some questions in the chat, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Or just introduce yourself. If you already have a podcast, share your podcast name with me. I'd love to see it. So, as far as the average number of episodes, which is 7, uh, I see this a lot with my clients, overcomplicating things or thinking that everything needs to be perfect the first time out. And look, nothing we do in life is perfect from the get-go. Unless we're hiring somebody who is a professional and they're taking care of everything for you, they have all that experience and they can produce that for you, which we see in podcasts now. And I'll actually show you one today. But for you, just start putting your content out. That's the important thing. You really want to start speaking to your audience. And if you don't have a lot of time and you don't have a huge budget, this is the way to do it. Start a podcast and do it in a way that's sustainable. Be realistic about your time. Don't get stuck on quality. Your quality will get better over time, and that's step one is just getting your content out there. It's using the camera on your laptop and on a Zoom call and recording it, and that's it. You have everything else. So that way you can get past that average number of episodes. So put yourself on a schedule, really plan your podcast out. I see that also where people just want to kind of go with the flow, and it's that works short term sometimes, but long term, it's really not a sustainable strategy. So really put some thought behind your podcast, what the theme's about, um, what you want each episode to sound and look like, and you'll be good to go. So that's my advice to you is if you're starting a podcast now, or even if you have one and you're just realizing, man, this is a lot of work. Yeah, pare it down. It doesn't need to be a ton of work now. Once you get to a place where you have more time or you can hire someone or hire help to do, more advanced editing or, have a more advanced setup like this, then, you can do that down the road. But for now, just get started with what you have. All right. And I'm just going to show you this one more time. That's the stats. Less competition in 2023 is what I'm seeing. So that's really, really good news. All right. So moving on, let's talk about Zoom a little bit more and how you can potentially start your podcast. As I mentioned, I do have a couple videos that go over like how to record, edit, and distribute a podcast just using your phone. You have a really good microphone right here on your phone, and if you use it in the proper way, it sounds really good. It sounds really good, and you can record right on your phone. You can record an episode right in Anchor and then just post it. But let's talk about Zoom because in Zoom, there's something that you can do that you can't do on your phone. First of all, on your phone, for the most part, it'd just be like a single person podcast is how you can do it the easiest way and without spending any money. But if you want to have conversations and interviews and talk to other people and have guests on your podcast, then just start with using something like Zoom. And the thing about Zoom is that the video quality is not that great, but you can set it up in speaker view or you can set your view up in a gallery view and the quality is not going to be as good as some of the video podcasts out there, but I want you to ignore that as you get started. And the first thing I invite you to do is just invest in a decent microphone. You want a microphone that's closer to your mouth so you're not yelling at your laptop or your computer. I'm sure you've heard people speak on Zoom for 3 years now, and you can tell the ones who are just using the microphone on their computer. Podcasts started out as audio. It's kind of going back to the basics. So really spend time on your audio first. If you have earbuds, use those. They have microphones built into them. So start there. And over time, invest in a microphone. What I love about a microphone, especially on Zoom calls, is I don't feel like I'm yelling all day. The microphone's right here by my face, so I can just speak normally and I don't feel exhausted at the end of the day. And then in turn, I have this equipment for when I want to do a podcast. Very quickly, just the basics of microphones. USB microphones mean that you can plug that microphone directly into your computer. And everybody, you have USB plugins. I think you're all should be familiar with what USB is. And that's where I recommend you start. This microphone right here is a Shure MV7. What's nice about this microphone is it's made by a very reputable company. It sounds great, but you can use this as a USB mic. I can plug this directly into my computer. Let me see if I have a view of what that looks like. So I have these USB ports on the side. It just will plug directly into there. And this is a great microphone. Now I think this is about $250. Don't quote me on that. Might be a little more, a little less. But if you plan on growing your podcast in the future, this can also plug in as an XLR mic. Now, once you get into XLR, you get into a more advanced microphone quality. And what I mean by that is there are devices out there that are like this Focusrite, where you can see there is a plug right here. This is an XLR. It's kind of, let me show you what the end looks like. So this is kind of what the end of that plug looks like. It's just a little more advanced. It's got 3 prongs that go into the microphone. The prongs would go into something like this Focusrite. And then what you can do is you have individual control over each microphone. So in this case, what's nice is now this one just has one XLR input, but you can buy these that have 2 inputs, 3 inputs, 4 inputs, and so on. So if you plan on having multiple people in person for a podcast, then you can go with something like this. And then what's nice is if you have multiple inputs here, you just connect with one USB to your computer. So basically what something like this will do is it'll allow you to control the mic levels on each of the microphones. So I have a soft voice, so my gain levels might be a little higher than somebody who might be a little have a stronger voice, have a louder voice. So you can do that. And this is good for in person. So if you think you're going to do in-person podcasts, I would suggest going with something like this Shure MV7, and you can use this not only directly in your computer when you're doing your day-to-day video conferencing calls, but then you can also use this as a mic. And then as you grow your podcast, then you can get a second mic, a third mic, a fourth mic, and just grow from there. So because this is a podcast, my advice, start with your audio. There are other USB mics out there that are really good. You can go on YouTube, you can go on anywhere, and you can hear what they sound like. It should be a USB mic at the very least. Earbuds are fine. I just think that if you invest in a mic and place the mic close to your audio source, which is your mouth, you're just going to get a better sound quality. And if you're serious about this, it's worth the investment. So up to you what you want to do, but that's a great way to do that. Also, once you start a podcast, you're probably going to be a guest on other podcasts. So just get a good mic, invest in it, spend about $100, $150. I highly recommend this mic. It just sounds great right out of the box and you don't have to worry about it. And this is $250 and there's a ton out there, but it should be a USB mic. So just make that initial investment. And when you have guests who will appear on your podcast with you via Zoom, reach out beforehand and see if they have a higher quality mic, or they should at least be using their earbuds. All earphones, earbuds, whether they plug in or they're Bluetooth, they have a mic in them that's just better than the mic on your computer or your laptop. So just do your best to get the highest quality audio out of that. Hey, everyone. I'm seeing a thumbs up. I'm seeing 3 people hanging out. Hi. Don't be shy. Introduce yourself. If you have any questions, feel free to place them in the chat. I'm so happy you're here. So with that said, that's just where you should, in my opinion, where you should start. And again, just don't worry about high quality. That will come over time. So speaking of which, what I want to do for the last half hour, not only do I want to address any questions that you might have, but I want to show you what other people are doing with their podcasts. These are probably people that you're familiar with. And I just think this would be a fun little exercise. So let's take a look at Glennon Doyle. Glennon Doyle is, she's verified on Twitter. She's very well known. Her podcast is called We Can Do Hard Things. And what I love about her podcast, let's just look at her Twitter feed real quick. And it's probably similar on Facebook and Instagram. What she's doing is she's literally call. That's it. And who's editing afterwards and, placing everybody in these squares. But you can just put Zoom in gallery mode, record it. And what she's doing is she's just displaying the clips on her social media, knowing that you're going to go and listen to her full length podcast. There's Abby Wambach. She's a retired professional soccer player, if you're not sure who these folks are. And when they first started, I think that Abby and Glennon were in separate rooms in their house, and I'm pretty sure they were in their closets. I think what they were trying to do was just have the best sound quality, and they thought that sitting in their closets would do that. Hey, if you would like to sit in your closet and record from there, you probably will get really good sound quality, but you don't have to do it. I thought that was kind of funny, so I just turned myself on too. Meaning on, my video in the corner. Okay. Now, what they're doing is they're just posting clips on social media, driving traffic to that long form content. So let's head on over to Glennon's YouTube channel, and you can see that she's posting clips on here. They're only like a minute and 20 long. So what she's wanting to do is really drive you to the long form audio version of her podcast. Let's go back to Twitter and look at her website. She has a link tree right here. And look, it's listen, listen, listen. So she's not even wanting you to look at video. She's wanting you to go to that long form audio content. But she is capturing video, and she's capturing video so that she can place it on social media platforms and get people excited so that they'll go over and listen to her podcast. So that's certainly a way that you can do that. But let's hop into one of these episodes real quick. And you can't hear the episode, but let's look at their equipment. What they're doing is they just have some basic microphones. This is Glennon Doyle's sister, and she needs to clean her microphone off. But either way, you can see that Abby and Glennon are wearing headphones, and their sister is not. So basically, they have just focused on their audio. And what they're doing, those are mics that use an XLR connection. So all they're doing is they're using something like this to connect to their computer. So they have the video and then just capturing, it's just a Zoom call, basically. Now, the reason why they're wearing headphones, this is something you should consider. I'm not wearing headphones today, but if you want to wear headphones, you can. You're also the audio engineer. So if I'm actually in a real interview, I wear headphones because I want to also monitor the audio to make sure everything's working properly. And if it's not, then I can fix it. It's also good just to monitor levels, and it's kind of cool to hear what you sound like. You sound professional coming through these microphones. With this microphone, you can plug your headphones directly into the mic, so you're getting the sound that's coming directly out of the microphone. But if you have more than one person, in this case, I would actually plug my headphones into my laptop because that's where all the audio is coming into. Same with you on your Zoom calls. Plug your headphones into your computer so that you can hear everybody on the call and that you're recording it. And that's it. In Zoom, something important to point out. The highest quality video you can get out of Zoom is 720p. You'll notice that, their video quality isn't that great, but look, this is Glennon Doyle. Glennon Doyle is an author. She's very well known. She has thousands and thousands of listeners on her podcast, and she has horrible video quality, but she has great audio, and she's capturing full length interviews with I mean, I don't know if you saw that. There's Brene Brown right there. Just hanging out with Brene on the Zooms, talking about important stuff, and then just getting their message out there. They're also adding captions to the short form videos. I do recommend that. Anytime you're speaking and you're posting that stuff to video, a lot of people watch videos with the sound off. So that's a great way to do that. Just add a caption. You can do that directly in YouTube, and there's software out there now. There's a ton of different ways to do that. But I just wanted to show you that that's what Glennon Doyle's doing, and you're not far off from that. It doesn't take much to do that. And the reason why she makes it so simple is because it could be this big daunting task. It could have a ton of different equipment. It could be professionally produced by like a large size company, but she just does it at her house with her wife. They just sit down and have a convo, and they record it and then they share it. And so that's what I invite you to do as well. Just whatever you have to say, whatever's going on, whatever your business is, whatever you are wanting to sell, it's important. So just get that message out there. All right. So the next person I want to show you and share is Tim Ferriss. You all know who Tim Ferriss is? Let me see if I can type. Okay, here is Tim Ferriss's Twitter feed. A lot of podcasters are on Twitter, and but I'm just on here just to show one social media platform. I don't know that Tim posts on Facebook or anywhere else. I know that Glennon Doyle does. She's probably posting on Facebook and Instagram, maybe even TikTok. I don't know. But Tim primarily focuses on Twitter, and Tim Ferriss has been a podcaster probably since, I don't know if you remember this chart. He's been doing it for a long time. So he started podcasting like way back here. And although the competition, increased over time, he's still doing it. He's an author. He speaks. And what he does is he captures his stuff on both audio and video. So let's go to Tim Ferriss podcast on YouTube. Just see what he's up to. Okay. Yep, this is an ad right here. But what Tim Ferriss is doing, and what he's been doing for a very long time, is he records an audio interview. He distributes it on all podcast channels. He also has a blog, so he writes about the episode on his website. And that's about it. He hasn't done video the entire time. I think he just recently started doing video. And let's pop over and take a look and see what Tim Ferriss is up to. So what he'll do is he'll record a video, and he rarely, this is somebody else posting video for him. So Tim Ferriss will just post a link, I think, to his blog post once an episode is up. He has tons of subscribers on his podcast. So this is what he normally does, is when he has a new episode out. In fact, here's one right here. This is what he's doing. So he will record an interview. He does in-person interviews, but he also does virtual interviews. But his focus is on audio. And so when he finishes that interview, he does a write-up and he posts to his blog, and then he goes to social media. He doesn't post the audio. He doesn't post the video. What he posts is the blog write-up. Now, this is super smart, in my opinion. This page is loading. While that's loading, here's why I like this approach. Because first of all, if you want more visitors to your website, then write up a blog and push traffic to your website. On that blog page, we'll go back here so you can see what I'm looking at. This is that podcast episode. Sure, we'll accept your cookies. And there's a whole write-up on here. Tim will embed the audio in this write-up, and he'll also embed the video. And then what also is happening is he's basically this is exactly why this works so well for him. Now that he has you on his website, he can talk to you. He has control over what he can put in front of you. And right now he's saying, "Hey, give me your email address because I want to send you a free ebook and I want you on my email list." And also, if you're doing a write up, you get to take advantage of SEO if that's something that's important to you in your business on your website. It's just another way to drive traffic to your website. If you are a business that is serving ads to a specific audience, what happens is when people go to your website, there's data that's collected on those visitors. And then when you go to serve ads, your ad delivery is smarter because the algorithm already has an idea of the type of person that visits your website. So this is full circle. Now, Tim has people who hire him. He did the 4-hour work week, but he hires people to help him do this stuff. And let's look at his podcast quality, shall we? So here's Tim. He's just sitting in his living room. This is probably the camera on his laptop. But he has an upgraded microphone. I'd say that this isn't even too expensive of a microphone. Tim, for a long time, before we all started doing a lot of Zoom and before a lot of us had microphones or better audio, he would actually mail a microphone to his guests. Yeah, he would just go on Amazon, he'd buy a microphone and he would send it to them. And then that way he knew that he was always getting good audio quality since he is hosting a podcast. Now let's look at his guest. He's just recording this in some software on Zoom. You can see he's added captions. These are lots of times these are auto-generated by YouTube. Okay, this gentleman doesn't even, I mean, he's just using the camera on his laptop or his computer. He doesn't have an external mic. This is Tim Ferriss is posting this content. This person isn't even looking at the camera. He's looking at Tim on his screen, right? I can't hear the audio now, but my guess is that the audio isn't that great either. But what's important is this conversation that these two people are having. There's a reason why Tim Ferriss has invited Bill Gurley, who is a legendary investor, on his website to talk about all the stuff that Tim Ferriss talks about. And at the end of the day, what's important is getting that content out. And so that's the whole reason why I wanted to do this live Q&A and just share how to put podcasts out there, because I see so many people getting caught up on perfection. It's got to be perfect. The sound's got to be great. It's got to be this like, professionally produced podcast. But what happens is you end up just delaying time, time goes by and the next thing you know it, a year has gone by and then 2 years have gone by and that podcast that you wanted to launch 2 years ago is now gone. But if you just put in a couple hours a week, you can be putting out like pretty decent content compared to people like Glennon Doyle and Tim Ferriss. I mean, I don't know. I think it's worth it. All right, I do want to show you one other thing, and if you have any questions, pop them in here. I know I still have a couple of people hanging out, but let's go ahead and I know you're all going to like this person. Okay. The legendary Brene Brown. Let's take a look at Brene's podcast. All right. The reason why I'm doing this, number one, I want to show you that there are people who have very successful podcasts and businesses that are doing it without like the best tech, but they're successful and they're not letting those things get in their way. And number two is this is a great way for you to kind of decide and if you're not sure what to do, just kind of copy it. Like how Glennon is putting her content out and driving traffic. Look at it from that perspective. Look at it from Tim Ferriss's perspective. Glennon wants people to tune into her long form audio only. Like that's where she wants her audience to go. Tim Ferriss is different. Tim Ferriss wants you on his website because he wants your email address and he wants to be able to communicate with you. Tim Ferriss does a weekly newsletter. It's called 5 Bullet Friday. He wants to be able to get your email address so that he can send you this newsletter. And in that newsletter are, first of all, links to other podcasts, but it has affiliate links in there. Like all of his advertisers, anytime you click on those links and you buy something that Tim has talked about on his podcast, he's making money doing that. So it's just like that. Now he's been doing this for a long time. So now he's to that place, but he had to start somewhere. And that somewhere was just launching your podcast and building your audience. And over time, you can start to bring in additional revenue sources. So YouTube ads, AdSense, affiliate links, sponsors for your show. So there's, depending on what your goals are, that's where you can eventually be with your podcast and getting your message out there. And it's just a great organic way to do that. So that's why I'm such a big fan. All right, let's go back and check out Brene Brown. All right, so let's see. Brene Brown, oops, I didn't mean to see Lauren, whoever that was. Brene Brown, right, yeah. So Brene is on Twitter. She's probably on Facebook and Instagram also. Let's take a look at Brene's feed right here. Now, let's look at the very top. Brene has her website. So let's just take a look at her website and see what's going on. We all know Brene Brown. She is a very well-known author. She has been on TED Talks and just delivers phenomenal content. She does research on shame and guilt and all sorts of different things that we're all just not really comfortable talking about. And Brene is a person who really starts those conversations. So if we look at Brene's feed, she's just talking to her audience. In fact, she doesn't even have video on here, but she's Brene Brown. Let's remember who we're talking about here. And she does have a podcast. I know this for sure. So let's go to her podcast. She has Dare to Lead and she has Unlocking Us. Okay, I want to show you Brene Brown because I think that she's someone that I know a lot of my clients look up to. They look up to Brene as just an inspirational person. And what you can potentially do in this situation is look at someone like Brene, look at how she's doing her podcast or how she's putting her content out and go, mine needs to be like that. It needs to be like Brene Brown's. And the thing about Brene is because she's Brene Brown, she has companies who come in and produce her podcast for her. And I'm not talking about just small size companies. I'm talking like HBO and she probably has her team. In fact, she is a Spotify original podcast. That means that Spotify, a lot like if you listen to Joe Rogan or keep in touch with any type of podcast headlines, you probably heard how Spotify paid Joe Rogan a ton of money for him to just be exclusively on their platform. They've done the same with Brene Brown. So Brene Brown, Spotify pays her a ton of money and they also produce her podcast for her. That means all she does is sit down and record it. So they're probably organizing the guests. They're definitely setting up the video. If they have video, audio is top notch. She's probably going into a studio somewhere. And you know what? She's Brene Brown. I do wish all of us were Brene Brown and we had those resources at our disposal. But she didn't always have that. She just started years ago just by talking to people. And then she got famous because of her TED Talk that she gave on vulnerability. And then she blew up. But my point is, if you look at someone like Brene Brown and you listen to her podcast and it is perfect and it has ads and there's a beautiful intro and outro and she's got these amazing guests, yeah, it's because she has a ton of money behind it. And it's because Spotify is paying for it. So although she's somebody that you should look at and maybe emulate the way that she formats her podcast, or maybe kind of think about what you could do to deliver a similar type of podcast with the messaging or the the questions she asks, things like that, go for it. But you if you are trying to right out of the gate have a podcast like Brene Brown, now you know why it's just not realistic. But I'm just going to reiterate that getting your message out there, talking to people, putting yourself in a place of I want to say the word authority, but I mean like in a place of respect where people are tuning in because they really want to hear what you have to say. And when you are putting your podcast together and you have good audio so that people can hear what you have to say, that's really all you need to do to begin. So I encourage you, if you've always wanted to start a podcast, watch at least the video that I recently put out about starting a podcast for free with your phone. Start there. Start putting your audio out there. Just record your Zoom calls and put them on YouTube. Uh, most editing software now, including the software on your phone, you can trim the beginning and end. Like sometimes there's some awkwardness, like right at the beginning and right at the end. And you know what? Who cares what happens in the middle? You're going to make mistakes. You're going to say ums. You're going to have an itchy nose. You're going to be doing this. And you know what? This is what we do in everyday life when we're speaking to our friends. So don't get too caught up in it. Just have a well organized and well thought out podcast. Have good audio. Trim the beginning and the end. Put it on YouTube. Take that audio, upload it to Anchor so that they can distribute it on a regular basis to wherever people are listening to podcasts. And that's where you should start. So that's what I wanted to cover today with all of you. And it looks like there are 3 people on here. Thank you so much for joining in today. Do you have any questions? Now's the time. I'd like to get any questions that you have answered. Now, I talked a lot about kind of beginning a podcast. If you have more advanced questions, like if you have questions about some of the equipment I'm using, I use this ATEM Mini for live streaming, but also for anytime that I'm recording a podcast, a multi-camera podcast, I'm using this device. It's the ATEM Mini Pro ISO. This device down here, I'm not going to pick it up because it might unplug something. This is the Rodecaster Pro 2. Listen, y'all, I'm a Rode customer for life. Last week, I purchased a Rodecaster Pro 2 last summer. It's a big audio board type of a piece of equipment. I love it, but I love it. And early last week, it died. It no longer worked. I reached out to Rode and I sent it out to them for repair on Tuesday. By Thursday, I had a brand new unit sitting at my front door that was delivered to me. Their customer support is top notch. So if you're looking for a good audio board, I highly recommend Rode, especially the Rodecaster Pro 2. You can use the Rodecaster Pro 2 as an audio source that plugs into your computer, very similar to the Focusrite. So very similar to this device right here. Same kind of thing, just a different company. So use that. And then the ATEM Mini, I also use some other equipment to give me the ability to monitor all video angles during an interview, a podcast interview. So I have that as well. And my company does produce podcasts, and that includes everything from scheduling to design work to posting everything to social media to doing all the audio and video editing for podcast distribution on any channel that you want. And then also creating clips so that you can promote your podcast whenever you put it out. So I do this on the regular. I love it. It's a ton of fun. I think more people should be doing it. And yeah, if there are no questions, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. If you have a question, now's the time. And I can't thank you all enough for tuning in. If you're watching this after the fact, again, send any questions my way, and I, if I have enough questions, I'll probably do another live stream that's focused on podcasts on this YouTube channel. I plan on posting all different types of tech videos, but my plan is to give you context. There are a lot of amazing tech review YouTubers out there that I follow and look up to and are an inspiration to me personally. And because I'm using this tech all the time to do work, I think that's what I wanna add. That's like the layer that I wanna add is, okay, here's the tech, here's how I use it. It might have all this functionality, but this is how I'm using it, and this is what it looks like in a real life application. And then also, this is the workflow that I'm using that for me, over time, I'm always looking to create efficient workflows. So I'll be sharing that type of information on this channel. So if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. My goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers this year and hopefully 4,000 watch hours so I can start monetizing my channel. And your help would be greatly appreciated. And listen, thanks for tuning in today. And yeah, reach out. Let me know what your podcast name is so I can follow it. And take care until next time. I'll see you then.